Welcome to the Fantasy Football Prophet Podcast, hosted by Craig Phillips and Jeff Torrey. Visit us at fantasyfootballprophet.com. And now your hosts, Craig and Jeff.
Welcome everyone to the Fantasy Football Prophet Podcast. I'm Craig Phillips, joined as always by Jeff Torrey. And today we have a very long titled episode. This thing is going to be called Players We Haven't Talked About. That maybe we should.
Yeah. I like the title personally.
I probably won't put the whole thing on there, but yeah, basically what we're going to do today is we each have about 5 players that for some reason in all of our lists we've come up with different things. We just, for some reason, don't talk about these guys. They never come up, but they actually probably are going to be useful for your teams. None of these guys are going to be just forget about players. You're not going to forget about them. You need to have them on your team, so we should talk about them a little bit. Make sure you're aware of them so when they come on the board, you just, if you're listening to us and taking our advice, you just don't completely forget about them, and then they break out, and then you blame us because we didn't tell you about them.
I feel like there's a bunch of guys that are like kind of white noise, where, you know, I mean, they're not breakout candidates, they're not one of the top ones, so people just kind of, I don't want to say sleep on them because that's wrong, but, you know, they do. They just don't talk about them near as much as they should.
No, that's pretty much exactly what it is. And I have a couple guys I'm actually really excited about, but for some reason, I don't know, just haven't said anything. But before we get into that, make sure you check us out on Twitter at the FF Prophet. We're always on Instagram at Fantasy Football Prophet. The website's fantasyfootballprophet.com. You can go there, send us an email, check out our ranks, check out all our past podcasts. They're all on there. And then also, we still have a review contest going on till August 1st. With that, basically, write us a review on iTunes, send it to us. We'll get entered into a contest to get a custom podcast for your own fantasy league. I think the closer we get here to the actual season and your actual leagues, you might think that could be something, might be a little interesting. Get a podcast. We'll talk about your league and what we think about it and all your teams. So make sure you get those reviews in. All right. But okay, Jeff, before we get to the actual episode.
Do you have one of your little tidbits of information?
I have Craig's random segment.
I was waiting for it. All right. So, lay it on me. What you got today?
There's not too much today, but we'll get right into it. All right. Today, my stat of the day is actually just Eric Ebron's age. Brought this up on an Instagram post the other day. And it just, I feel like it's something that's forgotten about Ebron. That he's like pretty much, everyone considers him to be a kind of a bust at this point in a way, based off how early he was drafted. What, top 10?
Top 10.
So based off that, you kind of think he seems like he might be a bust. Problem is he literally just turned 24 years old. Like he's not 24, it's going to be 25 coming into the season. He just turned 24 years old. Think about this. Travis Kelce, his rookie year in the NFL, do you remember the rookie year when you look at his stats that he did literally nothing on his stat line? Had the zeros?
Yeah.
He was 24. Think about that. He had a couple good years then, his first and second year, but I would really say he really just like broke out last year. He became really good at 27. So even at 25, 26, he was good. Eric Ebron still has to play this year, and then next year he'll finally be the age Kelce was in his first season, his first real season. Like, there's not many, and we've talked about this before, rookie tight ends and young tight ends do not break out. They do not become good for a few seasons. It does not happen. And Eric Ebron, now he's going to be 24 years old. Even last year, 61 catches, 711 yards, only 1 touchdown. He needs to get some more red zone looks. Mm-hmm. He had 5 the year before. I just feel like he's primed for a breakout, and I should have added him to the breakout list. That's why I'm talking about him now. He's like my number 6 breakout from last week. So I just think he's primed for a breakout at tight end. Like the age is crazy when you really look at it and think, wow, this guy's really, really young.
Yeah, and he is too. And he missed 3 games as well. Still had just north of 700 yards. So his yardage is there now for a tight end. Touchdowns are not. He's a little bit more of a jump than some of the other guys, but he absolutely is on my radar for, a breakout guy. And it's incredibly true for I think he was 10th overall pick to the Lions.
Yep.
First round 10th pick. He's got every physical gift you could possibly want.
Yeah.
So, I don't think there's any doubt, especially when you get down there. Looking at the tight ends, it gets really just murky. Like any single guy you could reach out, pick him out, and say, hey, he's going to have a couple great games. But which one are you going to pick out and be able to plug and play? Not too many of them, but I think he has the ability to win a few weeks for you.
I think so too. And look, when you're down around where his range, like Jack Doyle, I think it'd be solid and good, but Jack Doyle doesn't have the ceiling that Ebron has. The only people that I think that have that same ceiling down there are the O.J. Howard, Njoku types. Because, the rookies, first-round picks. Like, they have that ceiling, too, but they're not going to do it this year. I'm not thinking that. Ebron could. He could.
Yeah, Ebron could. And rookie tight ends, like we said, they really usually, I don't think it's a usually thing. I don't think I've ever seen one break the top 10. Even Gronk, who is a freak and in that Patriots offense, I think maybe he reached 10th. I'm not even sure. I'd have to look that up.
Gronk, when I was trying to look through some of these, Gronk is about the only one who had, and his real breakout season was year 2.
That's Gronk. What I mean. Like
he had a very good rookie year, but it wasn't like year 2. He just blew everything away.
Yeah, he still wasn't someone you had to have on your roster.
Yep.
So that's why I kind of laugh at the people that O.J. Howard probably going to be a very good football player, but there's no way he's not going to be a guy that you want to put on in your roster, at the tight end position. Really, almost ever. Like, it's just what the truth is. The only reason I kind of give Njoku a pass, where I think maybe he can do something, I've said it before, but I think that they could be in a position where they need more offense, and they're just going to use him as a wide receiver.
Yep.
So he's not going to have to learn how to block at all. And, who else they got? Tampa Bay has a ton of people to throw to.
Well, and just going back to Ebron and his age and stuff, 24 years old for this season. Evan Ingram, before he starts this season, he'll be 23. Like, before the season starts, Ingram will already be 23 years old. O.J. Howard will turn 23 in November. Ebron is a year older than these guys. That's it. He has 3 years already under his belt, and he's 1 year older. Njoku is only 21, and I think he's actually just about turned 21 if I'm looking at it, or maybe he's about to turn 22. I don't know. Let me see. His birthday. Oh, he turned 21 today. Happy birthday, David Njoku. So there's that. But,
happy coincidence.
So he's younger. Njoku, if you're like looking at dynasty wise, he's 2 years younger than Ingram and Howard, too. So that's actually
that's good to know.
It's always a good thing to know. But just Ebron, watch. You can get him. If you want to completely wait on tight end, you can get him towards the end. Auction, get him for $1, probably maybe $2. So somebody else might like him as well and can see him being a breakout candidate. So just wanted to bring up Ebron. Should have brought him up on the breakout episode, but did that today. All right. He probably could be a player we haven't talked about, so as well. Here we go. Players we haven't talked about. Jeff, got one for me?
I do. And
see if
I want to see if you can actually guess this guy just by his stats, right? So total yardage for the year, 941 yards, 9 total touchdowns, and he missed 3 games. And it's someone we haven't talked about a lot, so...
Carlos Hyde. I don't know.
Nope. That's a good guess, though. But Tevin Coleman.
Actually, I thought about Tevin Coleman there. I looked at him on my list, too. I'm like, oh, we haven't talked about Tevin Coleman. And it's because of Devontae Freeman's the only reason we haven't talked about Tevin Coleman. But that's it.
Those
numbers are impressive when you think about it.
9 touchdowns and nearly 1,000 yards, and he missed 3 games.
Yeah.
Heaven forbid anything happened to Freeman. This guy is playable even with him, even with Julio, even with everything going on. And he does both, right? It's not just a runner. He got 118 rushes last year and only 31 receptions, and he still got 420 yards out of it. Yeah, so this is one of those guys that I really do love Tevin Coleman, but he doesn't get enough love because there's all these what ifs, these question marks. Everyone always wants to say, hey, well, he's the second running back. Hey, they have Julio. Hey, they have... Yep. We had Austin Hooper. Like, what if he takes up more receptions? So I think people kind of shy away from this guy, but I absolutely love him. Great talent, great size. He does it all. So I don't know. What do you think of him as far as like, where would you feel safe putting him in your roster?
That is part of the problem. I think why I don't talk about him is I don't know what to think about Tevin Coleman or where to slot him. He'd have to be a third running back for sure.
Third running back for you?
But I see the problem. It's so hard with him. He really is. I just feel so much comfortable with him as my fourth, but that's not realistic. So he'd have to be basically your flex spot, and that I just worry about. I don't like getting a backup running back, but he's that good. That's it. He's just, and I had this problem with the rankings last year with Coleman. So I did not know how to rank him. I never ranked him right. He was always too far down. So I'm going to be somebody I'm not good to talk about this with Coleman because for some reason I'm just going to be down on him. But I know how good he is. And if Freeman ever goes down, that's what we need to talk about him too in that sense. If Freeman ever went down, this is the top guy. This is the top handcuff out there, I feel like.
Oh, without a doubt.
Right? Like
I'm trying to think of someone that would even rival him.
There's just not many.
No, and I mean, I was thinking New Orleans for a second, but I was like, no, because they also have Kamara and Ingram and AP. So one goes down, you still have it's still two guys in the backfield that are very, 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 very good.
Yeah.
No, I can't really think of. Maybe if EZ goes down.
Yeah, but is it?
But I don't know who it is.
Yeah.
I feel like anyone can run behind that line, so maybe him. Maybe Bell, but we don't know who his backup is.
Yep.
So yeah, without a doubt, Tevin Coleman has got to be the best handcuff available. And I think the hard part about him, even though we do rank him, I'm trying to think actually where he would be ranked for us, but he's definitely probably ranked as like a running back 3.
Yep.
I think the difficult part about him is you don't know. It's really easy for a guy like, say, Howard, right? And I know it's not a starter versus second. It's kind of hard, but Howard, we know he's going to get 20 touches a game. He's going to run the ball. Yep. He pounded out, goal line back. Tevin Coleman might get 5 touches. He might get 15. You don't know if it's going to be is it going to be passing, running? Is he going around the goal line? So you don't know how they're going to use him.
You don't know
game
when
to
play
game.
Him. That's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, if he puts up these numbers, it's a no-brainer, right?
Yep.
But you're always worried about regression or whatever may happen, because Freeman is definitely taking the bulk of the run game because he just looked phenomenal at the end of the year, especially. But he has no reason to take him down. And on top of that, his average 4.5 his rookie year, and then 4.4 a clip, and 13.6 for a running back average reception is pretty crazy.
And right now, he's ranked 23rd. But he's going as a 29th back. That's the thing. That's what happens with Coleman. He's this good. He should be here. But when he gets to draft time, he falls.
Yep.
Because you don't know.
People worry. They kind of back off.
All right. Before I get to my guy, I got to take a little break here, Jeff. Scott Fishbowl break.
Oh, do we have the pick?
We have a pick. Hey, we're just going to break into this. We're part of the Scott Fishbowl this year, which is 720 team, ridiculous 720 team tournament league. 60 leagues. 12 teams apiece, 720 teams total, one champion.
Yeah.
It's crazy. We're on the clock. We've had 2 picks so far. We got Brady in the first, Howard in the second. This league is basically a 2-quarterback league. Definitely some different rule settings. It was a little crazy. Mike Evans is on the board. We can take him.
Dude, lock and load.
Mike Evans.
For sure, yeah.
Mike Evans, let's lock it in. I like that pick.
So that's lovely. Now we have a top-tier quarterback, a top-tier running back, a top 10, I should say, and then my number 1 overall, I know people hate that, but my number 1 overall wide receiver, and I think you're, what, third?
Third, yeah.
Third.
And Jordy just went one spot before him. We got...
They picked Jordy over him, huh?
AJ's still out there, Dez is still out there. If they come around back to us, we might start thinking about skipping that running back. Because there's guys like this next guy I'm going to talk about that you can get later that, who knows, it might be something.
Perfect, right into it.
Paul Perkins, okay?
Okay, yeah.
He's going to be a guy in this thing we could get very late. We could get him way down the list. And yet, he is a starting running back. He's a starting running back. Like, that's the thing. We haven't talked about him, but we have to. He's a starting running back. How do you skip a starting? Like, there's so many committees out there. There's so many of all, all this. There's no committee there. It's Paul Perkins. His backup is probably, I don't even know. Is it Wayne Gallman? Orleans Darkwa? Like, we don't even know. It's nobody that's going to probably challenge him at this point. So his numbers last year, okay for a rookie, not great. He didn't play a lot. He had 456 yards, 4.1 yards per carry, 15 catches. He played in 14 games, only started 1. So he really didn't play much there. But still, it's okay numbers. It's not spectacular. There's nothing spectacular about Paul Perkins.
What worries me about him is he had 112 rushes, 15 receptions to throw on top of that. Played in 14 games, and I would be lying to you if I knew exactly how they use him because I didn't watch all the game tape on the Giants.
He wasn't a terribly exciting player,
but he got a grand total of 0 touchdowns.
Yeah,
doesn't that stick out?
That is the word.
Is that a fluke or is that just a very, very strange predictor of how it's going to go?
Were they still using Jennings down there? Were they still? I don't even. The Giants' run game was not good last year, and I think they threw the ball. They'd like to look at Odell a lot.
They did throw it a lot.
They did that kind of thing. But I mean, these are his last. Let's see, the last 3 weeks or in the last 4 weeks, he had double-digit carries in the last 4 games. So they were looking for him. The first time he had the double digits, he only had 15 for 45, nothing great there. But then 11 for 56, not bad. 15 for 68, that's a 4.5 yards per carry. And then the last week, he had 21 carries for 102 yards. So the last 4 games, he started to become a little bit of a player. And that's kind of why everyone expects him to be the actual starting back. And I think that's what showed them, hey, we're just going to give him a look this year.
Yeah, and I think he's not going to be one of those guys. I think what this shows is he could be the guy that toasts the ball 20 times and he'll have good production, and he won't put the ball on the floor, so you'll be able to play him a lot. But he's not that guy. He needs that bulk. He's not going to be that guy you put in like a Tevin Coleman, because we just talked about him, that can be electrifying off one play. That he doesn't need a whole lot. This is a very kind of straightforward runner. Maybe, I mean, he is a rookie, right? So maybe he has a year to kind of improve, understand the game a little bit. Maybe they improve the line as well. So can that improve? Maybe I'm a little bit wrong on him. Maybe he's a better athlete than I think. He does worry me, but it's also very true. Because he worries me, we don't really talk about him too much.
We haven't, because we're not excited about him necessarily. We're not excited about him. We're definitely not excited about him. But he's a starting running back who has a role with fantasy football. Opportunity is a lot of the thing here.
Yeah,
I mean, would you have thought? I mean, how many years ago? This is 5 years ago. Would you have expected Alfred Morris to play like he did? Like, like those kind of things. Like,
first of all, there's a ton of guys that come in
the role.
Yeah,
it's
think Le'Veon Bell, and I know that sounds crazy now. He was not a huge draft pick coming out of college. No, no one expected him to take over that role and do as well as he did.
Honestly, this is even a better comparison, honestly, right here. Devontae Freeman. You remember after Devontae Freeman's rookie season, no one thought he was really going to do anything. They thought Tevin Coleman had the job. That's what the expectation was. Well, let's see. I'm going to pull up Devontae Freeman's rookie season. 65 rushes, 248 yards, 1 touchdown. That's it. Paul Perkins actually had a better year. Freeman had a 3.8 yards per carry his rookie year. That was his rookie year. In his second year, he, played well. And actually, if we start to look back at Freeman here, it was all his receiving yards, because his rushing, he only had 1,000 yards, which is okay, but only 4.4 yards per carry. But why can't Perkins do that? He could. We would have been having the same conversation about Freeman 2 years ago and been he has the opportunity, but Coleman might take over. Yeah. There would actually been more hesitation because of...
With Paul Perkins, I don't see the guy that's going to take over for him.
But that's the thing. This could happen any year. You never know.
I think the biggest thing about him is, and I hate to say I haven't seen it out of him. Yeah. There's nothing about him that screams feature running back.
Yep.
And also, even though it's kind of a very... Shane Vereen was really...
Vereen, yeah.
He's also very, very...
He's still around, yeah.
Yeah, productive when you're passing to him. So Paul Perkins still probably holds on to the first, second down. But they throw that much. Shane Vereen is there. He's obviously the more capable pass catcher. He's still only 28. So I guess I'm just trying to build a case against Paul Perkins for some reason. I have such a strong doubt about the guy.
Yep.
But like you said, if he really does get that, even if it's for the fact that no one else is behind him can run the ball, he still gets all those carries. He still gets all those points. It still goes into your total amount, and you can still win with him. So,
and he's not exciting. He's there.
Yeah.
So.
And there's plenty of players like that you want on your roster. So,
all right. Next, before we do the next one, quick little Scott Fishbowl update. After our pick, Dak went, and then Stafford went. Quarterbacks are going.
Quarterback.
We have 2 more picks before we pick again. We might have to do some thinking. But all right. Next player. Next player.
All right. Next player. This guy is actually very high on our boards, but I feel like he gets overlooked because he's kind of in that in-between, and he had a great season last year. His name is Davante Adams.
He does get overlooked. We have not talked about him really much at all.
He just doesn't get a lot of love as far as talking, but we do really like the guy. He went off last year. He did wonderful. He's on one of the better offenses in the league, if not the best, with Aaron Rodgers at the helm.
Yep.
Last year, 12 touchdowns, 1,000 yards for all intents and purposes. Played every game. Jordy Nelson across from him, and that didn't affect his touchdown. He still caught 12. I don't know. What do you think about this guy? And that's only 75 receptions, so there's a little room to grow there.
I only worry in the sense that Randall Cobb was this guy a couple years ago in those numbers, and look what Cobb did now. I mean, Adams did take over for Cobb so we don't really think. But maybe Cobb was injured. Maybe he'll come back. Cobb is on. That's it. Cobb's my only hesitation with Adams. Is I don't 100% know that Cobb is done. That is what.
How old do you think Randall Cobb is?
27?
26, yeah.
Okay.
I'm actually kind of surprised. He's still very young.
Yeah, and see, I'm not. There's a lot of people who are done with Randall Cobb, and I was able to in a mock draft get Randall Cobb as I got him as my 6th wide receiver, maybe. That's crazy, but that shows how far he's fallen off. But I'm not 100% sold on the fact that he's done, and if he isn't done, Adams' numbers could not. Adams still going to be good. He's going to be very good.
Yeah,
I just don't know if he'll be top 10, top 15 good like last year.
Right.
But we're not ranking him that way, though.
No,
so.
But that 12 touchdowns, that's where everyone's going to point to, right? They're going to point to that and say, this is going to regress. He's not going to get double digits this time around.
And who knows with touchdowns? You can't predict it. Maybe he is a red zone target. Maybe that's what he's good at. It's hard. How do you say he's not?
And to go further with the Randall Cobb aspect of it, in 2014, so a few years ago, when he hit his stride, he had 91 catches for almost 1,300 yards and 12 TDs. I realize that's 300 yards more than Devontae Adams, but that is very, very close out of pretty much nowhere.
Yep.
And then the following year, a full season again, 79 for 830 and 6 touchdowns. So still good, but nowhere near what that one was. Not even close. And then last year, 13 games only, but 60 catches for 610 yards and 4 touchdowns. So it's not like he didn't do anything. He was still hurt. He still missed 3 games, and he still put up, pretty decent numbers for that, for being the number 3 wide receiver as well.
Yep.
So that is why Craig is very hesitant to say, hey, there's, because and not to mention they do have a lot of guys that are always waiting in the wings. And we joked about this probably Geronimo, which I loved watching him in the playoffs. He looked great. Yeah. So, and they talked about Jeff Janis at one point, and I don't know. It's very. I personally still like Devontae Adams. I'm with Craig when I think he's going to be good, no matter what.
Maybe it's the dynasty owner of Randall Cobb in me, just hoping that there's something there. Because he was a fairly early pick in our dynasty startup a couple of years ago, so still hoping on that. All right, my next guy, Danny Woodhead. We have not talked about Danny Woodhead.
No, we haven't
at all. We base most of our stuff as standard league. We don't venture into PPR too much, which there isn't like a big difference in PPR. Just some guys stand out. Danny Woodhead's one of those who will stand out. So if you're a PPR league, I'm sorry, we haven't talked about Danny Woodhead too much. But even in just regular standard leagues, all right, Dixon suspended for the first 4 games. So starting running back there is Terrence West. Terrence West, another guy we could have probably put on this list. I didn't. Did you? Probably not. Okay. We haven't talked about him at all. He's a starting running back. But are we excited about him? No. Danny Woodhead could get some kind of role here. His last season that he was healthy in San Diego, rushing is not his thing normally. He had 336 yards rushing, 3 rushing touchdowns. It's not his thing, but his receiving is ridiculous usually.
You know what I love about this? We went over Tevin Coleman's and we're like, who could that be? It's almost exactly 2 years ago. That's Danny Woodhead.
The numbers?
Yeah.
80 catches for 755 and 6 touchdowns. Look at those those receiving numbers.
He actually outperformed Tevin Coleman last year. He had over 1,000 yards and
the 2015 to go with that. Yeah, it's a great season. And Baltimore has led the league in passing attempts the last 2 seasons.
Which it still blows my mind.
And they've lost. See all the targets they've lost. Steve Smith's gone. Dennis Pitt is gone. Kyle Juszczyk or whatever is gone. Kamar Aiken's gone. Mm-hmm. Those guys, that's a lot of targets between those. Somebody has to get these targets. It's not all going to Jeremy Maclin and Perriman and Mike Wallace. I think Danny Woodhead's going to catch a lot of passes.
I agree with you. The injury is really the factor I kind of worry about with him.
He's 32 years old.
Yeah, and he's sandwiched. It's really funny. So he never really had injury problems. He played for the first 5 years or so. Yep. And then he only played 3 games. Then he played a full season. Then he only played 2 games. Yeah, and now he's back. So, and being a smaller back, taking that kind of punishment, he's only 5'8", 200 pounds, and 32. But I really do. I'm starting to really come around on this guy, and especially when you can get him late.
Yeah, you can get him as he's ranked as 33rd, so that's almost seems higher than I expected.
I really doubt he goes that high, though.
I don't see it either. I don't. But
he's also on a team where the other running backs have not set themselves apart.
No.
So Terrence West, I'm pretty sure I was a big fan of his like 3 years ago when he was on the Browns.
Yep.
And, he's always been okay, but he's never come into his own. He's never pretty much, had enough performance where he just keeps that running back one spot on any team. And then on top of that, you have Kenneth Dixon, which I feel like I keep hearing about, but not only is he suspended, but I haven't seen anything
I didn't
either.
see it from him. I honestly didn't. I don't get the hype.
And on top of that, Danny Woodhead is a completely different player than them, so he will be in the passing game no matter what.
And they've used a receiving running back in Baltimore over the years. That just Forsett had a lot of catches, and
very good point.
That was part of the reason he was so valuable. That his one good fantasy season.
Yeah, one good out of nowhere.
That's kind of what it is. I just think Woodhead's he's going to carve himself a role right away. They have to. He's going to be the guy for the first 4 games. I don't think they're in love with Terrence West, and I don't see how you would be. So Woodhead's my guy there.
I love that. And
if
it really is a PPR league.
Yeah.
The guy had 80 catches as a running back.
Crazy. That's David Johnson numbers there.
Right.
All right, next guy.
Next guy. It's actually a guy that plays with Ebron, Golden Tate, the number one wide receiver for the Lions.
We haven't talked about him.
No, we haven't. And he's one of those guys that drove me crazy last year because between him and Marvin Jones, they were hot and cold. Fire and ice. Shout out to Game of Thrones as it gets ready to prepare.
Sunday night.
Yeah. But last year, when he came on late in the season, he really did struggle in the beginning. That's when Marvin Jones was doing much, much better, getting a lot more throws to him. Played the full season, though, 91 catches, almost 1,100 yards, and 4 touchdowns. So the touchdowns, he's never went over 7. So that kind of tells you something. His touchdowns have never been elite by any means.
Yep.
But he always gets a good amount of yards. So he's one of those guys. How high does he go? How much do you trust him? The guy really does catch everything. It almost looked like Marvin Jones was supposed to take over for him, and he just completely took that spot back. And if he comes in and plays the way he did at the end of the year, those numbers, he would definitely be a 100 reception guy.
And why? I'm trying to think of this. Why are people not thinking of Golden Tate and thinking those numbers aren't going to continue? Because no one is expecting Marvin Jones to bounce back. No one is ranking Kenny Golladay up there yet. Yeah, and no one's ranking Ebron up there yet. Where are these catches supposed to go?
Amir Abdullah.
Right? Like, is it all going to Abdullah and Riddick?
I don't know. And that's the thing. I think they just think it's going to be spread out, and so all of them get forgotten.
Yeah. Tate, and whenever Calvin Johnson wasn't there, he's been extremely productive. And the only time he wasn't was the beginning of last season when Jones went nuts. I mean, he really is. And he's going as a wide receiver 3? That's a really safe wide receiver 3. It's a very good wide receiver 3.
Yeah, and I'm trying to. Where did he end last year? Last year he ended as the 23rd overall wide receiver.
Yeah, it's solid. I think he should have been a safe player almost in a way. I think he's very safe. He's going to get targets. Safe. He's going to. You get him as your 3rd receiver. That's really solid.
Yeah. So he's one that people forget to talk about, but he's a nice player to have on your team as well. And especially if he's ranked like that, but his draft position, his ADP, I assume, is one of those where it's lower. He becomes a nice value pick.
All right. My next guy, I'll run him back. His name is Jonathan Stewart.
I do forget about Jonathan Stewart.
Right. And the reason everyone forgets about Jonathan Stewart this year is Christian McCaffrey and the fact that Panthers offense sucked last year.
That as well.
But I think Stewart's still going to be the first 2 downs guy. He's going to be the first and second down guy yet. McCaffrey might be out there, but he won't be necessarily getting the ball, running the ball on first and second down. It's going to be interesting. I don't exactly know how it's going to work, but I feel like everybody's writing off Jonathan Stewart completely. I still think he's the goal line back for sure. I mean, we talked about this. I don't think they're going to be running Cam that much. Not as much.
Yeah, I actually want to look it up. And right now, Jonathan Stewart is designated as a goal line back.
Yeah.
Which should tell you something.
He should be. Right now, what his rank currently, if I pull this up, is 35th ranked running back right now. That puts him 1 spot behind Samaje Perine and 1 spot ahead of Robert Kelly. Also, he's sandwiched in between the Washington backs.
Especially when we're talking goal line, too. He's 5'10", 240 pounds. I mean, the guy is a big running back. And also, take it with a grain of salt, but one of the writers for I follow the Carolina Panthers, is the website. off of Roto World, but they actually predict that he's going to see the bulk of the carries, even with McCaffrey.
Yep.
Obviously, once again, take it with a grain of salt. Would I rather have McCaffrey? Yeah, I would.
But they're not going to use McCaffrey quite like. I mean, that's the thing. McCaffrey's still, more valuable before we want to draft him. But for some reason, people are been saying Stewart then is not valuable or not. They could forget about him, but they can both do something. Like there's why can't they? McCaffrey's going to get the ball all the time, different ways, but Stewart can still run those touchdowns, and he had 9 last year.
I was just looking at that. I can't believe he had 9.
Right?
I mean, 830 yards. So pretty much he had almost 900 total yards from scrimmage and 9 touchdowns.
Well, the big worry with Jonathan Stewart is he hasn't played 16 games since 2011.
Yeah, he gets hurt a whole lot.
2011. And so last year he missed 3 games, and yet was still the 21st running back. 2 years ago he missed 3 games. He was the 16th running back. So he's missing games, and he's still up there.
But what's his? I gotta look up real quick. I'm wondering where he's going right now.
He's the 30. He's the 35th or 30. Yeah, 35th back.
Okay, 35th.
Yeah, so that's a 4th running back. He's actually being drafted as the 42nd running back.
That's what I was
drafted
as
a 5th. He's being in a 10-team league. He's being drafted as a 5th running back.
Oh, and he's a great one.
About a 4th in a 12 team.
It's really funny if you can get him and say a Doug Martin. So you start off with Jonathan Stewart being healthy, and you can play him, and you can put in Doug Martin as soon as he gets hurt.
And that's the thing with Stewart. There's no risk with him because you're getting him so late.
Yeah,
he's your 5th running back. I mean, how can you go wrong if he doesn't perform at all? You just get rid of him.
Yeah, and who knows, he might. But even with that goal line guy. I feel like you could keep him on your bench, and who knows? You never know with McCaffrey getting hurt. And I have a feeling, too, that Cam Newton, his rushing is only going to continue to decrease to try to keep him healthy. Yep. So McCaffrey and Stewart are going to get a ton of opportunity to run or catch the ball.
Yep. No, completely agree. Next guy, Jeff, who you got?
Actually, I brought this guy because we really don't talk about him, and also I really do want to know what you think about him because I'm very mixed on him because a lot of people love him, and he's Stephon Diggs. So, number 1 wide receiver from the Vikings. And I really don't like that offense. It's really... I don't think it's in a very good place. They kind of rely on their defense, and as far as fantasy goes. They rely on their defense because it's very good. So, they kind of pound it, grind it out. When he was healthy last year, he looked really, really good. But how much can I depend on Bradford to get him touchdowns? So, last year... he played 13 games, 84 catches for 900 yards and 3 touchdowns. He also said in an interview that after, I think it was like week 3 or 4, he injured his groin. He said he was never the same again. Now he feels healthy.
Because after week 8, those 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, he did nothing last year, and then he didn't play the last games after that. If you look at his stats before that, it was great. He had a couple down weeks, but he had a 7 for 103, a 9 for 182, with a 13 for 80, so 13 catches, but then a 13 for 164. Right? He had some really impressive games. I don't like that passing offense with Bradford. He doesn't take any chances. There's a reason Bradford last year basically set the record for completion percentage, and yet was still no good.
Right.
He didn't take any chances to do
anything. They don't throw it down the field at all.
And I worry about just how many targets or how many players are there to throw the ball to. They're still Thielen. What if Treadwell does something? He could.
Right.
We don't. I'm not done with Treadwell yet.
And then you still have Rudolph.
There's still Rudolph.
Sam Bradford does not throw a ton of touchdowns.
Yep.
Just to give reference, I do want to look up how many. So he threw 20 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. And 3,800 yards, or 39 almost. So out of 20, how many went to Kyle Rudolph? I want to say it was like 9. Is that true? Is my memory serve me correctly?
I don't have the numbers up in front of me, but it could be.
7. So I was a little overestimating.
Diggs only had 3.
Yeah.
Diggs only had 3. Even in those 4 big games I told you about, only had 1 touchdown in those 4 games.
And my thing is, people get really amped up about Dalvin Cook, which I love him as a running back. But last year, their line was not good. I mean, it was very difficult to run behind them. I think Jerick McKinnon, but still, he was pretty athletic. I think he only averaged 3.4, and it was him and Asiata. So
Peterson
say what
looked terrible
you want,
those first 2 weeks, and I don't think that was all Peterson.
No.
But Diggs, I don't mind where Diggs is being drafted right now. He's not being really, I feel like, overvalued. He's just he's 30th right now. He's just kind of there. I'm okay with that. I feel like there is some potential there for him there's some upside there. He can get higher. There's
without
for
a doubt
sure.
there is.
I just don't know if I see it yet. I just don't quite see it happening. I mean, I feel like he has the ability to jump up there. If I had to place my bets down, I'm not going to. It's just the offense I don't think it's going to allow it. Mm-hmm. And if Michael Floyd now too out there, I don't even know if he's going to play or not, but they signed him too. Like, who knows why? I don't see much there, but if I had to bet on it, I don't see it happening with Diggs yet. I think it could change maybe next year. Maybe Bridgewater comes back. Maybe, and even Bridgewater, I don't know if maybe Bridgewater is just Sam Bradford. I don't know if he's actually much better.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think he's a little better. I don't know.
He was extremely young.
I don't think the offense is going to allow him to be that great. He's going to be okay though. I think he'll be fine.
I think he's handcuffed by the talent around him currently.
If you get him as your third or fourth, that's not bad. It's not bad.
And he's one of those, it's hard to get excited about him.
It is. It's just, that's why we don't talk about it. And I think part of the reason we don't talk about it is because that offense just kind of blah. And we don't really know what to expect.
It's tough to depend on an offense like that.
It is.
And it shows you too, the number one wide receiver on that team who everyone says is talented. I don't think anyone disputes that. And he's a young guy. It should be like one of those moments where like he's going to break out. He should be talked about more. But you can look at someone like Devontae Adams and we're like, he's the number 2 on the team. And they're like, there is way more to go around in an offense like that instead of being the number 1 on a poor offense for the majority of the time.
All right, my next guy. I'm going to stick to the same division. It's Ty Montgomery with the Green Bay Packers.
Oh, that's actually a good one.
We don't talk about Ty Montgomery very much.
We do not.
At all. But he is the starting running back for one of the best offenses in the league. And last year, he didn't come on to be the running back till later on. He had 77 carries for 457 yards, which is a 5.9 yards per carry.
Wow, that's way higher than I thought.
5.9. He also had 44 catches for 348. I mean, obviously, this guy was a wide receiver, and he still looks like he should be because he's not changing his number, despite the fact that he's back now. Running back number 88.
He's angry.
But, I mean, he's one of those guys, you put him in the ranks, I don't even know where he's at right now. He's probably in the 20s right now. It's been changing, but he's typically, I see him in the mid-20s, maybe late 20s. Of the running back ranks.
20th right now.
20th?
20th.
Oh, so he's moved up a bit, actually.
Yeah, I'm actually very surprised.
He's actually gone up ahead of Eddie Lacy right now. Maybe people are coming around on this a little bit, which I'm starting to think we should. Except, I'm scared about that. I don't want him as a running back 2. I liked him much better as a running back 3. We still haven't talked about it, so we should talk about this.
Yeah, and this is one of those things. We have said, hey, you got to go running back heavy. Make sure you get them early because these are the decisions you're forced to make if you don't get a running back early. And these are the ones that, even myself, I mean, you are in a position where if you pick multiple, you're probably going to miss on one.
But I can see this too. I'm looking at it. He's 20th. Right now, right below him is Eddie Lacy. I like Lacy better than that, but I get it.
Right.
Then it's Ingram. I get it. Ingram Peterson, you don't know. Then it's Coleman. Okay, I understand why he'd be ahead of him. Mike Gillislee, Frank Gore, Amir Abdul. I get why he's ahead of these guys.
Yeah.
100%. It makes sense why he's ahead of all of them. So when you're looking at it, he has a sure thing. That's why we needed to talk about him. He has his role. For a while there was talk. People were thinking they draft all those rookies. One of them's going to take over, like Jamal Williams. It's a 4th-round draft pick. I mean, they really, really wanted someone to take over for him. It would have been a 2nd or 3rd round.
I'm still kind of waiting for it there because even last year, I'm trying to think when did he take over? He really didn't take over until week 7.
Yep.
But they don't run him a ton.
No, they don't. But
one time he did get 16 carries for 162 yards, which is phenomenal. But usually that was the outlier. Usually he doesn't usually even get double-digit carries.
Yep.
So you're wondering like maybe one of those rookies, as long as they don't fumble the ball, are going to be the one that run it, and then they're going to use him as a 3rd down back or in the passing game. Or maybe now that they have a full offseason to get him going and he actually gets to practice as a running back, they feel more secure handing it off.
Yep.
Because, I mean, I guess if you have a wide receiver that's in the backfield and you're like, well, I can either hand it off to him or I can put it in Aaron Rodgers' hands, every single time. I'm going to say, let Rodgers chuck it down the field.
I just think he's an interesting player. I just want to see preseason, actually. This is one of the teams you really need to see preseason and see what they do with those backs. And if any of those rookies stand out.
Yeah. And, I mean,
I don't want
this guy is he is very intriguing player, and I kind of root for him too because he seems like the nicest person on earth.
I like him. It's just like,
but if I came to that position and it was going to be him, or I'm saying I'm going to jump up and grab someone else I like more in a different position, he has enough question marks where I say I'm going to stay clear.
I think that's why we don't end up with him, because we look at and we look at the other running backs around him. We're like, no, I don't want anything to do with this. I'm going to wait for Doug Martin.
Right. I'm going to take him as a value pick.
Or Abdullah, which we get a little later. Yeah. We get the wide receiver. That's where we go like not Kelsey, but tight end that's still left on the board or something.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does scare me, even though I want to like him. He might make me look foolish. I think he might quite possibly be very good this year.
We'll see. Yeah, I want to see preseason. All right, is this your last guy? One last guy players that we haven't talked about that maybe we should.
Another guy that we never talk about, we absolutely should, especially with all the changes in the offseason, is Mark Ingram.
Yeah.
And I know everyone they shy away from this, right?
We don't know what to say.
Yeah, because either you yell something crazy like AP is going to be the worst player in the NFL, or you're like, he's going to completely take over. Like, probably the most likely scenario is Mark Ingram returns to kind of where he was before he was the primary back last year. Last 205 rushes for 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns. Add on top of that a little more than 300 receiving yards and 4 touchdowns. He had a great season. But AP is not going to just disappear. I don't understand where this comes from, where people think he's going to suck.
No, because Hightower had plenty of carries last year, and Ingram was still good.
Mm-hmm.
Peterson can get a little bit more than Hightower, and Ingram could still be good. So funny thing is, looking at these ranks. Right now, consensus, Ingram is ranked 22nd. Peterson is 32nd, ranks-wise. When you get to the draft, Ingram's getting drafted as the 20th running back. Peterson's the 21st. Peterson is 11 spots ahead of his rank.
Wow.
I guess you see the name and you pick him.
Yeah.
I think the ranks are probably more where they should be. Ingram's he's young. Peterson, we don't know if he has anything left. Yeah, he was terrible last year. We just talked about how the Vikings offensive line was terrible. We think it was all Vikings offensive line, but maybe there's a little bit of Peterson not being back. And now 2 injuries in the last, how many seasons? He had the ACL 4 years ago now. I don't remember what it's at now.
It was sandwiched. 2014, he only played 1 game. So I guess technically
that was
before his blew his name.
And then he missed the season for the.
Yep. So 2014 he only played 1 game. 2015 he played the entire season. Once again was amazing. He was great. He had almost 1,500 yards and 11 touchdowns. And then he played 3 games with Minnesota and only averaged 1.9 yards a carry.
So some of that's offensive line, but how much? That's a really low. Like that. I remember that because I did have Peterson last year, so I was watching those very closely. And yes, the offensive line is not good, but you would think usually an offensive line is not good. You're still okay. You're getting 3.5 or something. You're getting something out of it. He was just getting nothing, and I don't know what that means. I don't know.
Unfortunately, we didn't get to see enough.
And that's the problem with Ingram. If Peterson wasn't there, I'd really be in love with Ingram this year. He was going to be one of my targets for sure. So maybe now he still should be as a running back 3. I think that's a good pick.
Definitely a risk to it. But if I had to put my money on whether or not Adrian Peterson can still be productive.
Was he 32 now?
32?
Is he 32?
He is the most unbelievable freak of nature I've ever seen, maybe any sport.
Yep.
And that's saying something, but time catches up with everyone eventually. And when you have Mark Ingram there, and we haven't even mentioned Alvin Kamara, who is a very talented rookie.
He was my pre-draft guy
until he went to
situation
the worst possible situation
he was my guy. But
what do you think? You think he can be a legit running back 3?
Yeah.
Would you feel safe health-wise to draft him on your team, or would you stay away from it entirely?
I feel like I'm staying away from the situation.
Well, what if he fell to
as a 4th? I'd take him.
As a 4th, you would take him.
Sure.
No brainer.
Sure, 4th, but I just don't want to. I don't want.
There's always a place you will take.
Yeah, but I don't want any part of it as a player that I have to start or want to.
I totally get that.
It's just how I'm going to be.
Where do you feel that Mark Ingram, the one that we're actually talking about, where do you feel safe starting him then?
Honestly, as a flex
position.
That's it. I don't
running back 3.
Yeah, it's a flex
because of AP.
Yeah, it is. Now because I don't right now know this. I don't know what it's going to be yet, and I don't want to take that risk not knowing. We're not going to know. This is something too that preseason is not going to help us.
No,
Peterson's not going to play. I mean, how much?
Why
he's
would
going to
you?
barely play. This will not help us at all. So we're not going to know until they start playing, and by then it's too late.
Yeah.
So you just got to take a chance if you want one of the guys. I got one player left.
I hope it's who I'm thinking of.
Probably not. I don't know. We can go anywhere. It's Eric Decker.
Oh, nope.
Now, who were you thinking? Let's see.
We can touch on it afterwards real quick. So let me hear about Decker.
Decker, it's just situated. I think he's going to be the top receiver there in Tennessee. I like the offense a lot. We've talked about them as one of the up-and-coming offenses for a while before they got Decker.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's better than Rashard Matthews. I mean, I like Matthews last year, but Decker's better. And Corey Davis, he's a rookie. Rookie receivers, still not sold on rookie receivers, especially a rookie receiver from a small school. You know, he's going to be good, and he will be good in the next couple of years. I just don't know if it's this year.
Right. Will he break out as a rookie with
I think Decker still has a good – he'll be, 30 this year. I mean, his last healthy season, he had 80 catches for 1,000 yards, 12 touchdowns. He's a very good player. He's been around 1,000 every year and about 80 catches every year. And I think that's going to happen again. I'm not going crazy. I think it's going to be about 80 catches, 1,000 yards, and he could get 8 to 10 touchdowns. That's kind of what I'm expecting. Mariota's going to be better, but we don't ever bring it up. But I think you can get him as what? A fourth receiver at this point? He's way down there.
Yeah.
So I just think that's not much else other than that. He's come back from an injury. He's in a new situation, so that's why it's kind of we don't really know what to think about it. But I do think he's going to be the number one guy there, and he's going to get plenty of work. And as a wide receiver 4 for your team, you'll be happy with it. So that's it. That's all I got on Eric Decker. Not the most exciting last player, but that's what I got. Who's the other guy you're thinking of?
The other, kind of going off the whole Saints situation, is Denver's running back situation.
True, we haven't talked about that.
And no one ever talks about Jamal Charles.
Charles has not been talking. And see, that's I think why
no one knows, so they don't want to say anything.
That's it too, because I'm kind of waiting for it to shake out a little bit and find because it's dead period in the NFL right now. We don't know. I mean, there's 3 guys to talk about there. I don't even know where to start because you don't know. And anything I say is complete guesswork. Yeah, I have no idea.
You know what I love about this though? How is this possible? I don't even think this is weird. Devontae Booker is ranked 66th overall, and Jamal Charles is 50th.
He's way down there.
It's very, very bizarre. Am I
no? He's down there.
Am I missing something?
No, he's way down there. And then C.J. Anderson is actually up at 18th now.
Oh, there we go. And then so he's up at 18th.
So people are really just expecting it to be the C.J. Anderson show.
Which shows. And I doubt that. I have no reason to believe that Jamal Charles is going to be his old self.
We don't, but we haven't seen him not be his old self. So.
Yeah. And the thing about that is C.J. Anderson is coming off injury as well. He only played half the season last year.
And Booker there could still be something there.
Yeah, they really loved him for like a short period of time, and then
I don't think they had a very good offensive line, and it wasn't a good situation. Bad quarterback. I don't know. We'll talk about that one more going forward because I don't know what to say. I want to see preseason with them.
The only thing that I kind of want Jamal Charles to come back.
Me too. I think he'd be a great late value.
He's cutting like he's his old self on that repaired knee. And I did want to see like the numbers here.
Yeah.
Okay. So Booker, he did play the full season, 612 yards. He 3.5 average with 4 touchdowns.
That's where people are kind of down on it, but
yeah, he did not show up. I mean, obviously they just loaded the box because he didn't have too much of a passing game either.
Yep.
And then, but when C.J. Anderson was in there, he only averaged 4 yards a clip, which is that's okay.
Yep.
But he only played 7 games, 4 touchdowns. Well, 5 if you add the receiving.
With Charles, too, if he comes in there, he was never even like a huge volume guy with Kansas City. So
that's why he's very interesting to me.
He doesn't even need that volume to be good.
If his legs are finally underneath him, he will be probably one of their best weapons because if your quarterback is not where he needs to be, how many times are you just going to try to throw it out to him in the flat and make people miss?
Oh, man.
I mean, it's what he did in KC.
If he can come back healthy, he's 30 probably.
Yeah.
Maybe could have one more year. We'll see.
So that's why people don't talk about those situations, but it's true. It's hard.
All right. Well, that's some players we haven't talked about that now we have. So we'll probably won't talk about them much until more news comes out. But we'll be back next week with more episodes. I think we're going to do a mock draft. We haven't done one in a bit. So we'll do a little mock draft, see where we're at and what's changed. We'll probably still end up with Willie Snead and Martavis Bryant and Devontae Parker on our team.
I hope.
Every time. I swear that's what happens. But we will talk to you guys next time.